I would like to discuss about ActionAid and its work in Myanmar especially. What is your focus in Myanmar? And what are the major programs that you have been doing and you are currently doing in the country?
Actually, Myanmar has a very effective and impactful program in the country. The focus started with a very strong notion of fighting poverty and eradicating poverty through really strengthening the capacity of communities to understand their own situation, to understand what are the causes of the situations that they are going through, and to transform that understanding into a plan for developing the community, and then being able to bring that plan to the local authorities. So there has been a very strong focus on that, on building that capacity to do a bottom-up planning with the whole community mobilized behind those. So we developed those village books. The village books is a summary of the main problems of the community and the solutions and the priority of the solution they want to achieve. And then they mobilize resources to achieve that. First of all, through dialogue with the local authorities to ensure that their priorities will be the priorities on the budget allocation, as well as mobilizing other resources. And that ends up with a very strong natural emphasis on issues related to education, on issues related to access to water, on issues related to infrastructure. So there's a very strong emphasis on that, a bottom-up community development. And I would also say organizing and mobilizing the communities, so creating the social fabric that allows a day-by-day exercise of democracy. So we have the fellows, which are volunteer and different youth leaders that are trained to really build up those processes of conscientization and organization from bottom up and building power from bottom up. So that's another important part. Another very important part for us has to do with climate adaptation. So we know that Myanmar is considerably vulnerable to the change on climate. So therefore we also work with communities to build up resilience, either through the way that they do their production as well as on infrastructure that is resilient to climate-related phenomena, particularly drought in some areas and flood in other areas. And I would say women's rights is also quite crucial for us. In ActionAid, we do understand that there is no way to fight poverty without fighting patriarchy and without advancing the rights of women. So all across our program, we have a very strong emphasis on women's rights, and particularly on women leadership towards the change that the society requires. We just launched 2 days ago our Safe Cities campaign. It's a campaign that aims at changing the attitude, but also changing some policies to ensure that we build a safer city for women, that they can access public services or their school or their jobs, being free from harassment and being free from violence. So I think that's another example of what we do.
Myanmar was under the military dictatorship for many years, decades, and it is now in the early stage of transition to democracy. So in your opinion, what are the challenges for the country and also for the people in this transition to democracy?
Yeah, I think that there are a number of challenges. We went through a similar process back in the mid-80s. And I think one of them has to do with the very culture in the state apparatus, so the way the state works. So of course the state is a political entity, but it's made of human beings. And those human beings that are working for the state and for the people, therefore, they have had a strong culture on how they would deliver their services and fulfill their duties, which probably were quite influenced by the authoritarian times. So I think there is an issue there on how to really make sure that the state machine change the culture. I know there has been a change on leadership, but we also have to have a change on the culture of the state. So building a culture of accountability, building a culture of participation, a culture that values participation, that is ready for the dialogue, that's ready to learn and to decide together with, takes a lot of work. I think another important challenge has to do with also building the capacity of society to interact with the state, because to be able to articulate your demands in a format that you can actually influence public policy, to be able to give visibility to a situation of injustice such as a land grab or a denial of rights. All of that require also the capacity of society to be ready for that. So I think that for me the fundamental issue is how to make sure that you improve the readiness both of civil society to claim rights and the state to be able to dialogue with and to be influenced and to be accountable increases. And thirdly is to look at other dirty betters. So you also have in society other institutions that have an important responsibility, such as the private sector and particularly the bigger companies. So how we not only look at the issue of your nascent democracy from the perspective of the relationship between civil society and the state, but also look at the relationship with the private sector and how the economic development is also democratized, and you have civil society ability to influence and to shape the kind of economic development that will come alongside with the political developments.
How about the question of minorities, ethnic minorities in this transition, and also the question of communities living together? Myanmar has been struggling with this for years, and still we have fightings and conflicts. So how this could be handled best possible in the transition, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the world, and I'm not I don't have deep knowledge about the Myanmar ethnicity-related conflicts and other conflicts, but the experience across the world is that peace building requires, number one, commitment and willingness of all parties to really engage into peace building. So that's a fundamental initial step, that you really establish the commitment and from all parties to resolve conflicts. Secondly, is also go deeper into what are the underlying causes of conflict. Some of them are economic, some of them has to do with control of resources, and you have to be able to see what is in there. And others are deep cultural practice that also have to be tackled. So I would say that a comprehensive peace building requires a lot of commitment and a lot of collective leadership to achieve, and it's absolutely crucial, because by the end of the day, conflict, we all know that the most vulnerable to conflict are the poor people, are the people that are already excluded, that are already live in a situation of poverty. Those are the main victims of any process of conflict. So as an organization that fights poverty and that has a very strong commitment to social justice, for us peace building is a fundamental step towards a fair and a just society.
In the last few days, you have been visiting around and meeting with colleagues in different parts of the country, and also the groups and individuals who are involved in the movements. So, what do you think of that? What is your impression on reflecting from those visits and meetings?
I am absolutely amazed and impressed by what I saw in Myanmar on these past few days. First of all, the role of youth. It's like so interesting to see. We have this experience with the fellows, which are actually community organizers or change agents, if you want. It's thousands of youth that have been trained on rights approach and community development approaches. And they have such a interesting role by going back to their respective communities and working with people from different generations on identifying the problems and bring them together. And I could see a very strong youth-led process of change. I think that was very impactful to me. Second, I could observe also a very strong willingness of the different sectors of society to start slowly to build the ability to interact with the nascent democracy and to claim their rights in that new environment. So I could see, for instance, 300 women farmers coming together in a gathering to build the joint analysis of what the agricultural biggest problems are and then make the input on the national agricultural plans. So that like exercise of democracy is really important. I also could see a very strong people-led process of engagement. So from the communities I've been, that's who is leading the process of change are the communities themselves, the people in poverty themselves that are doing that. I would also add innovation. It's a very innovative process. So I saw so many new initiatives, from the way people organize themselves to social enterprises, to different ways of cooperating, different kinds of entrepreneurship. I believe that innovation is also very much there. And I would also say the willingness to tackle cultural issues together. As I mentioned before, when we launched our Safe Cities campaign, it was hundreds of young women very committed to try and to engage into cultural change. So I feel like the country is literally blossoming activism and participation in a very unique way, and I believe that it is a particular opportunity for building a democracy and to build transformative development.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Just to add to a big thank you for this time, for this opportunity to talk to you and to talk to your readers and to talk to your viewers. Is a great opportunity, and thanks for the Myanmar people to give me the privilege to observe and to learn from your beautiful process of changing, building democracy and building social justice from below, and youth and women led. That's a gift that I'll carry for everywhere I go on the 45 countries that ActionAid work.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
so much.
this interview and for your work in Myanmar.
Thank you so much.